watching, Tucker and a lot of the pundits, and I was like thinking to myself, man, is Tucker running for president? Because there's something like about the way the topics that he chooses and the people that he's talking to. It's not like other podcasters. It's there's almost like an agenda to that. So yeah, I just want to show a couple of clips that I kind of edited and get your thoughts on them.
Okay, let me see them.
All right, let's start with the Bannon clip. I think it kind of sets up a lot of the things that I was thinking about.
The podcasters and influencers are much closer to the MAGA base and can deliver the heat into the House and the Senate, and they know that.
He's never criticized. No one ever criticizes John Ratcliffe.
Well, the reason I think they're not
ever.
I think
that's the way the agency's structured. There's no civilian control of the CIA.
Yes. Well, you know better than anybody, but because you're a product of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
There's no one better in an emergency. We have an emergency. We have a break the glass emergency to actually be an advisor to the president, right? In a temporary thing, than you who know the whole land, the canvas.
Have you seen this whole interview?
No, I've seen parts of it. To be honest with you, Tucker Carlson to me has become a little bit like what Howard Stern was when he first went off terrestrial radio. He's a little too free, and his long form interviews can go to places that I feel like might be a little bit controversial, and maybe that's on purpose to ask questions. So I tend to not watch all of his long form interviews like I might have when they were, say, 20 or 30-minute segments on network TV.
Yes, it's very interesting, and I kind of got the same impression. And like 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was literally thinking to myself, what is Tucker like doing? And I'm like, there's a strategy to that. Even like looking at the clip from that interview, he's he's like setting something up, with his like it's theater. I think like kind of what we're doing is theater. He's trying to select like a side, and I think he's trying to gather like an audience for that, and see how far it could go. So it definitely seems like very strategic there. And he mentions like the podcasters in that little clip. I mean, Bannon mentions the podcasters. Obviously, there's the CIA reference, which is kind of bizarre, like his whole CIA relationship. And then Bannon tells him, "Hey, you're an insider. You know everything." And he's kind of saying that he's insider/outsider. He's like asking all these outsider questions in his long form interviews. So a lot of his stuff, he's got this performative things, like he really cares about like the common man. And I think those long form interviews, he's trying to go into that direction. But I think it's theater, like at the end of the day. So let me jump to the one that he was doing with Candace Owens. And I'm not even sure if you look at Candace Owens' reactions, I'm not sure she's on the same wavelengths as he is. It always feels to me like he's talking above her head. And even she kind of like, are you talking to me or like through me? So let me pull that up.
Yeah, or a normal life.
I asked him about that. He said, yeah, it comes from a 2-parent household. That's what he told me.
No, does he have his own family? Does he?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. It was totally weird.
Tender spot. Well, okay. Has it occurred to you that, and I just want to say, I haven't watched a lot of Nick Fuentes in my life at all. But what I've seen, the guy's very talented. But I also have noticed that his targets are all people who are sincere, non-crazy, non-hateful opponents of neocon politics.
Right.
So you have to kind of wonder about that. So Nick Fuentes is like, oh, I don't like the neocons. But then his targets are J.D. Vance, Joe Kent. He got involved in Joe Kent's campaign with a super, yes. You, me. And it's like, what is that?
Dave Smith. I asked him about that because that's a question that I had. So I did the right thing by asking him to his face. What's up with this? Like, why do you attack Dave Smith? You say that like your biggest critique is that America's being controlled by Israel. Then you have Dave Smith, who has been such a sound voice. And by the way, opposite experience with Dave Smith. Have my podcast. He's a fantastic human being. I judge
Dave
people.
Smith is one of the nicest people
Fantastic
ever.
human.
And he's attacking my dad as a CIA. His dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year.
Well, if it helps, he said I'm funded by Russia now. Since the interview, he then did a thing and said I was funded by Russia.
But you would be a lot more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA, because you would never take Russian money, and you're not Russian. But I mean, I really hate the CIA, and I mean,
right.
That's like very offensive to me. He is clearly part of a campaign to discredit non-crazy right voices. That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
It's clearly,
and then it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he like just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that could
be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on.
Yeah.
And Nick Fuentes, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago, is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life. I know what that is.
Okay.
He's attacking Dave Smith because Dave Smith is effective and credible.
He's very effective.
Because he's smart. He's a decent person. There's no hate on Dave Smith. And you would smell it if there was and there isn't. And he has credibility and he has knowledge. And he's a marvelous debater. And once again, a really good person. So you have to take out Dave Smith. You have to take out Joe Kent. Those are the good people. You have to take out J.D. Vance. He was against J.D. Vance. So if you're against like more pointless wars on behalf of foreign powers, like, you're probably not going to be attacking J.D. Vance. And Vance was exactly the person he was attacking. It's young white men who've been totally cut out of our economy, attacked mercilessly, given, narcotics, just go die. I mean, they really are the victims, and they're desperate, and no one speaks for them. So they go to Fuentes because he's like incredibly articulate, and they think he's our leader. But in one of the saddest ironies of all, like, he's acting against your interests, actually. It's really dark.
Dave Smith, one of the greatest humans ever.
Okay, I don't know who Dave Smith is. I know who Nick Fuentes is, and Nick Fuentes lives for controversy, and I feel like Candace, as much as I like her, also lives for controversy. You see that little TCN on the microphone?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like all these people are looking to do. They're looking to create buzz.
Yes.
And maybe go to places they might not normally go if they had an everyday platform with eyes driven to it rather than having to drive them. So I don't think he's looking to be president. To start with your question, I don't think he's looking to be president. I think he's looking to monetize the site. He says things that he knows are a little bit further than probably most people are thinking, in a way to generate clickbait. I mean, that's really my feelings on it. I think he's a lot more normal than he lets on. And I think he tries to be controversial, as does Candace, because otherwise, who are they? They're just two people. I'm sorry, Tucker Carlson didn't monetize his juice the way he thought he was going to. When he left Fox News, I think he thought whatever he did, he was going to automatically succeed at, and I'm sure he's doing quite well, but not as well as he thought he'd do. He didn't get all the Fox people he thought he might get just by coming over. That's just my feelings.
George, let me circle back to that. So let me play the other clip, because I thought hearing the clip I'm about to play, that what you're saying is correct about he's trying to grow his own network. So let me play this clip is short, and then I'll give you my thoughts on that.
Intentionally killing civilians, you probably shouldn't beat your chest and brag about it. Maybe you can make. I agree with that. Maybe you make the case that we had to do it or whatever, but you should. I agree. You should weep, and that's evil, and you should just say it's evil. And I know it's like really threatening to. Is it evil? Ben Shapiro to say that or whatever, but.
So when I saw this recording, which I think was previous to the Candace Owens recording, I was like, oh, okay. So he's trying to grow his own network. He's on Fox right now, so he's fighting against Ben Shapiro. What I guess the way I'm putting dots in my head is that the podcaster, which is the very first thing Bannon said, he's playing them. So Dave Smith, he's a Jew who's a comedian who's anti-Israel when it comes to the Palestine stance, right? So he's anti-neocons. So Fuentes, he say that Fuentes is a neocon, even though Fuentes himself said that he's not a neocon. And the same thing with Shapiro, right? Shapiro is kind of running this neocon narrative. So I think he's trying to set himself up. He even says like, oh, Nick Fuentes is attacking J.D. Vance, right? Well, J.D. Vance is the vice president. So, and then Bannon was already kind of alluding to it, like, hey, Tucker, you're an insider. We need you in our fight. So the fight, nobody directly says that. I'm not even sure Bannon is thinking Tucker for president, but I kind of have this feeling that Tucker is thinking Tucker for president. That's why he's playing. He's like, who are going to be my alliances? All right, so Candace Owens is my alliance. Dave Smith is my alliance. Shapiro is not going to be on my side. So down the line, I have to set these blocks up because down the line, I'm going to be fighting against them when I'm, potentially going to be run for president. I think all these crazies, I think it's part of the, almost like, when they do campaigns, they're like, okay, what's working well? Okay, let's push in that direction, and then we'll go that way. It seems to me running his network, growing his network is not the deal. He's kind of above that. He strikes me as kind of the smartest guy in the room type of a person. And where Candace Owens, she's desperately trying to grow her network. That's why she's saying stuff that might be crazy, might not be crazy, right? Like she's on that Charlie Kirk got assassinated by Israel thing right now. Before she was saying that Macron's wife is the man. Like she's going for the super crazy, right? And if you look at her numbers, they're blowing up. I mean, she's getting lots and lots of views. So she's growing her brand. But she herself, kind of fascinating story. I don't want to kind of divert. I think it's actually the thing you mentioned about these podcasters and how they're fighting along each other. I think it's a great topic for like a different discussion. But that's some of the things that I was thinking about. And he brings up like CIA several times. And so that's kind of some of the thoughts that was running through my mind. I don't know if you want me to kind of like clear them up, or if you got like initial thoughts off of my thoughts.
Here's what I can say. If Tucker Carlson is running for president, he's got a very bad strategy because he's not taking positions that are 90-10. He's taking a lot of conspiracy theory positions,
Yes.
and I don't mean just one. I mean lots of them. JFK conspiracy is a very mainstream conspiracy that most people that think for 5 minutes think that something is wrong with the official story. But he's also taking positions like maybe we really didn't land on the moon. And some other things that I've heard that I don't know. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Because like I said,
Well, let me help you out.
I'm trying not to watch these deep dive things because I honestly don't think there's his true opinion. So I don't really know what the situation is. And frankly, some of his guests are a little bit off their rocker, like a Nick Fuentes. I mean, maybe you agree with some of the stuff he says, maybe you don't, but there's some stuff that he says that's so off the reservation and so divisive that I'm not sure you can even take him seriously. And so I don't really know.
Yeah, George. So the one thing, he keeps bringing the CIA stuff, and I don't know, it's so like fascinating and little like funny to me on so many levels. So Owens' interview, you saw he mentioned that he didn't even know that his dad was in the CIA until he passed away earlier this year, which is like it's such an odd statement.
I find it very disingenuous, to be honest with you. I just
yeah,
do.
and it's because do you remember the Putin interview that he did a couple of years ago? Like,
Yes, of course.
Putin was
Who
teasing
couldn't?
him about him being in the CIA, and then did you see when Nick Fuentes was basically saying that Tucker was in Nicaragua when he was like in his early 20s, and the only way he could be there is because like, how would he be there? So
I don't know anything about. I've seen Nick Fuentes' picture. I've seen about 3 clips of him, so I really don't know much about him aside from the fact that I know he's controversial.
So that's really fascinating too. So CIA is accusing Fuentes of being CIA, and Fuentes is accusing Tucker of being CIA. You know, I recently watched Lex Friedman podcast, and he had this a professor of like secret societies, Rick Spence. Did you see that? Did you ever see that episode?
I don't know who he is either, honestly. I'm sorry. This is turning into a really bad turn because I don't know half the people you're talking about.
I didn't know who he was either. You know, Friedman, he interviews like very interesting people sometimes. So I never heard of this professor, but he was like talking about the occults, like all these secret societies, you know, all that stuff. And what was interesting about that is he mentioned the CIA and all these secret agencies, and he started talking about the Okhrana, which was the Tsar's secret service, and he mentioned that when there was in 1908 there was a socialist revolutionary I guess group that was like, I guess, getting violent, and there were like bombings at Russia at that point. So the second in command for that revolutionary group, Okhrana, approached him, and they're like, "Hey, the first in command, he's also on our he's like an agent for us, but he's kind of getting out of hand. So we're gonna replace him, and we're gonna put you in charge." So when I heard that, it was hilarious, right? Because you have this revolutionary group, and the first 2 in command are the agents for the
government
service. And when I'm listening to Fuentes and Tucker, and I'm like, it's hilarious. Like, it sounds like both of them are CIA agents, and they're accusing each other of being CIA agents. So I don't know. That just cracked me up when I was listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll never know, in my opinion, what really makes this world run.
Yeah.
You can look into it all you want, but until you become a power broker, you never really know what's going on. It's just like if you work in a company, even as you get into middle management, you think, oh, okay, I'm going to know everything that goes on in this company. You'll have no clue until you become COO, CFO, CEO, same kind of thing. Until you really get in that top 1/2 or 1/3 of 1%, you're never going to really know how the world truly operates. That to me is 100%, no matter what era you live in. So, I don't even ask those questions anymore. I'm just a willing pawn. It is what it is.
Well, that's a good transition. So let me play the clip from Whitney Webb. Do you know who she is?
Nope, no idea.
So she's like a journalist that to me seems like the biggest expert on Epstein. She's not talking about Epstein in this clip, but she's also, a lot of her reporting is who's running the world. I think she even has like a book called like One Nation Under Surveillance. And a lot of the things you were pointing out, that's exactly what her book is about. At least for what I've heard. I didn't actually read the book, but let me play the clip, how it relates to Tucker.
Too, that we can't ignore is the fact that Peter Thiel is a major funder of independent and alternative media. Not Mint Press, not me, and definitely there's plenty of other journalists who are not funded by Peter Thiel, but a lot of the biggest names are. And, for example, when Tucker Carlson went independent from Fox, he entered into talks relatively shortly thereafter with Peter Thiel, who was going to finance him. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, but it's definitely, worth considering, especially since Tucker Carlson was one of the major people lobbying Trump to select J.D. Vance as his vice presidential candidate.
So I think it's right on cue for what you were saying. And, Peter Thiel's name always pops up as this he's kind of, I guess, the right George Soros, he's the boogeyman who's behind everybody, right? J.D. Vance, he was his mentor. He's always investing in all these like companies that are gonna, take over the world. It's kind of to some of the things that you were saying.
Well, I mean, my big thing is for every one of those, there's one on the left. For every one on the left, there's one on the right. As society in general is being manipulated by people with the most money. I mean, that's gone on since, the Middle Ages. The feudal lords had control of society through the church. They exercised power against the serfs, and that structure, no matter what incarnation you take, is always going to exist in the underbelly, whether it be communism, whether it be socialism, whether it be republics, whether it be monarchies, whatever the case is. The top 1/3, 1/5, whatever the heck of 1% is going to run the world in the background, no matter what you do. It's just a matter of how overtly they do it. So money talks and bullshit walks, right?
Yeah, but so George, it's funny. So you were kind of leading to the same conclusion as you were kind of discussing, this like the power play of rich and powerful people, or beforehand when you ask yourself how the things work. And I think those 4 clips are actually very fascinating things, how things do work and how Tucker fits in there. So, he has the connection to Vance, Bannon, Thiel. He's playing this power structure between like, these right podcasters I'm friends with, these right podcasters I'm not friends with because I have to take a particular stand. So it's very interesting. This happened after I get thought of the idea to put the clips together, but obviously after the Charlie Kirk assassination, Tucker and J.D. Vance had that show together on the Charlie Kirk's platform. And it was also like a very fascinating conversation because J.D. Vance is trying to get everybody on the right to be on the same page. And Tucker is still attacking, Netanyahu. He's attacking like Mark Levine, who's like a kind of neoconish right winger. So it's very so even they were kind of butting heads on that interview, even though it was like pleasant. But I think Tucker, in his kind of theatrical manners, tried to manipulate what he wanted to say, and J.D. Vance, in his slickness, tried to manipulate what they were trying to say. I don't know. I thought it was very interesting from some of the clips that I saw.
Well, see, that's why I say I don't think that Tucker is in his mind running for president anytime soon, because he takes too many positions that are unpopular with most people for different reasons. So if he's playing to the conservative base,
yes,
attacking Israel works for a small percentage of them, but it really plays more to the left. Whereas supporting Candace Owens plays more to the ultra right because she comes up with these, Macron's wife isn't a woman kind of thing. So again, it's too many odd man out positions. If you look back to when Trump was getting on the scene in 2016, they were all common sense positions that no one else was taking. Whereas I feel like Tucker Carlson isn't taking common sense positions. He's taking controversial positions and not trying to say, yeah, but think of it in a common sense manner. This makes sense. Agree with tariffs or not, when World War II protectionism for Europe is still in place in 2023, that clearly doesn't make any sense. Like, why are we still allowing Europe to stifle our imports of, say, cars to Europe? That was set up to help them restart their industrial base after World War II. Well, I mean, that's 80 years ago. I mean, enough is enough. That's a common sense issue that you don't have to agree with, but you go, oh, I see why he thinks that way. I don't see any of Tucker Carlson's positions when it comes to the controversial stuff as, yeah, I don't agree with you, but I see why you think this way. And that's why I don't think he's setting himself up for a presidential run, or not a successful presidential run.
That was my thought, and I hear what you're saying, and I actually was thinking of that beforehand. But I think he's one of the big Trump points. His first campaign was fake news, and I think this distrust of all the media. I think Tucker's kind of ahead of it. I think that's why he has all these crazy ideas. And before Charlie Kirk was shot, he started his campaign on the 9/11 commission, and he had to pause it, and now he restarted it again. Basically, bringing up a lot of.
You're frozen. Audio and video frozen.
Oh man, that's kind of the impression that I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. Like I say, I just don't see it. I think it's if he's doing it, it's a really ham-handed strategy that's going to wind him up like who was the guy that ran against Bush and Clinton in the 90s? I can't remember his name now.
Perot?
Ross Perot. Where he's going to wind up like Ross Perot, 12% of the vote, out the door, costing whatever group he's closer to the presidency. If he continues, I don't think he's that dumb. I think he's a lot smarter than he gives himself credit for.
Yeah.
So I just don't see it. But you might be right. How do I know? It's a long time away.
Well, I do think he's the smartest guy in the room. Like I said.
Well, he thinks so anyway. I mean,
yeah.
he thinks so. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, if that's his ultimate goal, I think it's a very poor strategy how he's going. I mean, he may tilt to the center and then become the hypocrite that he claims everybody else is, but I don't see it at this time. That's just me.
And what about the fact that he recently interviewed Sam Altman, which was another odd interview, and he started accusing him of very interesting things.
I didn't see that one either. See, like you're bringing stuff up. You spent a lot more time kind of going down the political rabbit hole. I was very into it during election season.
Yes.
Just because I felt like it was important to know who the players were and make a good decision one way or the other. Whereas at this point, I feel like this is all build up to something that's coming very far in the future. And everyone that builds up winds up spinning their statements into things that aren't what they started out to be. So I don't even listen at this point. I mean, unless you want to comment on a news event like, Charlie Kirk's death or something, that I would listen to, but just a rando interview for 45 minutes. Sorry, I have better things to do. I just do.
I think, George, all his interviews are build-ups. That was my point. I think, first of all, he does say that he's very religious, and he repeats it all the time. So I think he's trying to get that base. I think, he's obviously right now there's this mistrust of information. I mean, some of the tweets, even from the FBI, people are laughing at Cash Money Patel at the stuff because he's doesn't even make sense, some of the stuff that he tweets. And then I think the third big thing is AI. And that's why I think he had Sam Altman, because I think he needs to make a stand on three big things. So I think he's actually setting all of that up. So that's my thought. I don't know if you want to finish the thought, or should we,